afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Harris, yeah.
Thank you.
So Pranjal,
Yes, sir.
Pranjal, you are from Delhi,
Yes, sir.
and your optional is sociology,
Yes.
and you have done your BTech in computer engineering from Maharshi Dayanand University, Rohtak,
Yes.
Haryana. You are fond of social work. I could see the DAF, and digital daily diary,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
and flight tracking. What is flight tracking?
So there's an app called Flight Radar. You can track flights. So if you see a flight passing by, you could just track where it's going, where it's coming from, what's height is it at, what's the airline, what's the speed it's at. So you could find that. I track my friends' flights. Say, for example, my sister is going somewhere. My friend was actually coming last night from Bangalore, so I could track her flight. From Bangalore, where is it, when it's gonna land? Oh, it's over Maharashtra right now, it's over Madhya Pradesh right now. I like doing that.
Okay. You have worked in 3 organizations, or 2 or 3 organizations. Kapat you have worked,
Yes.
and right now you are in Manrega.
Yes, sir. I was working on Manrega, but then I took a break to come to Delhi and prepare for this exam.
Okay. So, Pranjal, let me begin by asking you that the mobile phones that we use, what is the computer language in those mobile phones?
Computer language in those mobile phones? So I'm so sorry. I don't know.
That's
okay.
Okay, no problem. Now, some time back, there is a Bollywood actress called Kangana Ranaut, and she makes statements sometimes, provocative, sometimes liked, sometimes not liked. Recently, we saw her walking under a huge amount of security. A lot of security was provided to her. Are you in favor of providing security for VVIPs? Ramdev, he also moves around with black commandos, and that is all at the public exchequer's cost. So, do you think that there is too much of personal security given by the government is right or not right?
So, if there's a threat to life, I think there was a recent case on Mr. Owaisi's life. Somebody fired 2 bullets on his car. So when there's a threat to life, then security, the government provides security, I think is all right. Only if there's a threat to life.
But there will be so many threats to life to so many people. How can the government provide security to everyone?
Right, sir. I think MHA does some assessment to find out if there is that threat to life, and they can make that assessment and come up with the idea. Yes.
So only those people who are important in the context of the government, they are provided the security on the basis of the assessment.
Yes, on the basis of assessment.
Not a common man. He cannot be provided.
A common man. Yeah. So in some cases, in eyewitnesses cases in courts, then courts provide some security to important eyewitnesses. Those are government provided security. Okay.
So there was a Jat agitation in Haryana. Can you give some comments how it was handled? It was handled well, it was not handled well, who were at the fault, what was the issue, what exactly?
Right. It was in 2016 as far as I can remember. Jats were, the Jat agitation was about reservation.
Yeah. Because you stayed at Rohtak. It must have been, was it a correspondence course or BTech you did? From MDU Rohtak.
Yes, sir. This was a proper BTech regular course. I was there from 2007 to 11.
So you stayed in Haryana.
Yes. Okay. For 4 years, I was there. Yes. So this was about the reservation. I think it wasn't handled very well because there was a lot of violence. They carried out dharnas in front of tracks. They stopped all the transportation for a long period of time. It wasn't only say 1 or 2 days. I think it lasted for 40 days. I think there was a misadministration during that time, and they couldn't properly handle the matter. Right.
All right. Now, supposing you are posted, your first preference is IAS, and second is IPS, and third is the Indian Foreign Service. So, as an IPS officer, supposing you are posted as Superintendent of Police, and a heinous crime, rape has been committed. Now, what steps you will take, to investigate the thing and ultimately bring the people to book, those who are the accused, and what will you do if there is a pressure from your chief minister? for letting go one particular person and booking someone else.
Right. So if there's been an incident like that, of course, first of all, we're going to help the person who's the victim here. We'll send them for the medical records, ensure that the medical reports come out on time. Within, I think, a few hours, it comes out and it's properly. It's not leaked. And then we file FIR. We go with we try to find out what happened. But the second question.
But what will you do insofar as investigation part is concerned?
Right.
Because it involves a lady, and you would like to bring the people to book, and there is a pressure. So what will you do to ensure that the investigation is done properly?
Okay, so I think I will, if I'm the SP in that area, I will constitute a team. I think I would constitute and have majority female members in it. So there's less biasness and there's more positive attitude towards the woman involved, the victim involved. I think we will do that and ensure that we file the report within as early as possible. One will do that.
What will be the tools that you will be using?
Right.
Relying upon, to ensure a good investigation?
I think so. We will first go to the community to find out what happened, where the woman lives. Talk to the community members, talk to the woman, talk to the doctors. I think
so that
we'll
is
more
the
about
evidence here. So doctor's report, that of course is one thing which you said in the beginning.
Right.
Other than then, what other things you will like to do to collect evidence which is foolproof? What is the other things? Investigation methodology.
Okay, sir, I'm not aware of that. Sorry.
Okay. Right. Recently, not so recently, but there was a film which was called Padmavat. And there were many agitations against the film when it was being made. A lot of threats were also advanced. So do you think that we should give creative, things? We must give total freedom. So creative freedom should be there, because many state governments also, in fact, banned the film in their states. So do you think it is a good idea to do that? And what steps will you take if such people, come around and they try to stop the filming of the and then subsequent screening, vandalism and all those things?
Right, sir. So first of all, I do not think that it's a right idea to ban the film. I believe there should be creative liberty, and we should let the audience decide for themselves if they are willing to watch the movie or not, and what are their sentiments after it. First, and second, if there's an attack, say it was an attack on the director of the movie back then. First of all, I think we would first of all provide security to the directors and to the crew where they're filming the film. And second, we should talk to the community members and to find out what's happening. And we should talk to the political leaders also to not create this ruckus. These two things we would do.
What is a computer virus and how do you remove it?
Okay, so computer virus is it could be many things. The first thing is that it's created by another party. It's created by another party to hack into somebody's system and to steal the data or to render it useless, a computer useless. And two, how do we stop it? There are many tools. One is antivirus, which we can use it on our phones, which we can use on our laptops. And second, we should have say like sometimes there's a government agency also to help out people. We right now for the bigger things we have CERN, IN for the critical infrastructure. For that we could do that for the government infrastructure.
Just supplementary to that.
Yes.
The information communication technology was widely used during COVID times and even post-COVID times. Can you just give me some examples where ICT was used during COVID times?
So first example is the phone that the ringtone we call somebody, the caller tune that we hear. That's example of ICT. We still
particularly keeping in view the COVID-19. This is, I understand.
Right.
What were the steps taken by government? Because during COVID-19, one did not like to touch anything. It was a contactless. Nobody was allowed to move out. Nobody was likely to touch. So therefore, many of the activities which could be performed manually, they had to be transformed into, contactless things through ICT. Right. Just give one or two examples.
Okay, so I could think of, so right now, even the transport department now, you do not have to get the driving license. You could apply online. Most of the services were pushed online and you could apply online. Say, for example, I needed to get my voter ID, my address changed. Then I could apply online. So you don't have to go anywhere.
Pranjal,
Yes, sir.
see, lakhs of young people are aspiring to be civil servant. 5-10 lakhs, and then few are selected. Total vacancies are 800, 1000. So you can see the ratio. What is the reason why actually all young people are aspiring to be civil servant?
So I feel there are two reasons to it. First, I feel it's because it's a government job. It's a lot of security. People like to have that security. There's pension. There's other allowances. I think that people aspire.
Pension is no more.
Sorry.
Pension is changed now.
Okay, sir. I'm not aware. First is
You are not aware
no,
about
sir,
NPS?
No.
No.
No, sir. I'm not aware.
But suppose now you are made aware, will it change your opinion?
No, not at
No,
all, sir.
no.
No, this is my first government job. I've never applied for a government job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, okay, carry on.
right. And second, I think it's the what I could make out from the YouTube comments that I see. If an
From
IS
YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of videos of the new ISs of the recent batches, say like 17, 18, 19. And there's a lot of videos of them going to the field in their cars, and people comment on how nice it is, what's the stature of the IS, this is the power of IS. I think these are two reasons why people aspire.
But suppose that is not the reality, then?
Yes. I think
suppose that is only in the video, and
Yes.
the reality is very different.
Absolutely.
Where
sir.
you come under so much of pressure from politicians, from masses, the media, then the accountability, then the disciplinary actions. Will
Yes,
it
sir.
change? Will it change the opinion?
Of me?
Huh?
No, not at all, sir. Actually, I've worked with the government for 6 years and I've seen the work of the district administration as well as
So
state
what a
administration.
collector or a SP is supposed to? What are their functions?
A collector's function, sir?
Anyone. I mean, where you feel comfortable, where you feel that you can describe it more powerfully.
Okay, I've seen the work of collector more closely than the SPs. I think first of all, collectors is to implement the government schemes. Say, for example, in my district, I was working in Gumla district of Jharkhand. I saw my collector implement, say, education schemes, SSA back there was, Manrega there was.
So collector was implementing Manrega.
He was implementing Manrega, but in 2015.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It is not implemented by Panchayati Raj institutions like Gram Panchayat and municipalities.
Sir, it is in Jharkhand. It's said that it's implemented by panchayats, but the reality is not that. The panchayats are very weak in Jharkhand.
But funds come directly to panchayats.
Sorry, sir.
Funds come directly to the panchayat. Manrega. Collector is not involved.
Yes, sir. The funds actually also do not come.
And there are overseers and engineers.
Yes.
Of the DRDA.
Yes.
Who supposed to plan it and execute it and monitor it.
Right.
And then there is a Jila Parshad at the top level.
Right, sir.
So collector is nowhere in the picture.
Right, sir. So collector is the main monitoring authority. He gives the directions. He gets all the direction, or he or she gets all the direction.
Under which act or which scheme the collector is the monitoring authority of Manrega?
Right, sir. Say, for example, I worked on Manrega, so I can mention Manrega right now. Collector was the main monitoring authority.
In which scheme or in which act? Where collector figures the monitoring authority for Manrega?
Right, so these were the rules of the state. In different states, there are different monitoring authorities.
Manrega is state scheme?
Sorry?
Manrega is a state scheme or central scheme?
Sir, it's a central government scheme, but states are allowed to form some rules. Say, for example, who's the monitoring authority is different for different states. In Jharkhand, for example, the district collector was the monitoring authority till 2016. And then DDC, the second person in charge, was made the monitoring authority after that. District collector had no role in Manrega after that. And say, for example, if we go to, if I'm heard, I have not been there, but in Chhattisgarh, say, for example, there's a different authority. It's not the direct collector. There's CEO of some Jila Parishad. I think they have more functions to the Jila Parishad. CEO of Jila Parishad is the monitoring authority.
What is Jila Parishad?
So Jila Parishad is the elected body which was elected in the panchayat tier. It's the highest body of the district. It has elected representatives. In Jharkhand, we had about 15 to 20 elected bodies, and they meet every week. They meet every month. And the DDC in our district was the secretary of the Zilla Parishad, and they discuss their functions.
So, what are the functions of Zilla Parishad?
Right, sir. So in Jharkhand, for example, I think it could be different for different states, because the rules, the states make the rule for the panchayats as per their Act, 73rd Amendment Act. But in Jharkhand, they did not implement schemes. But so, for example, in Jharkhand, they monitored what are the schemes coming up. Say, for example,
they don't implement these schemes.
So they monitor. They do not implement in Jharkhand.
Then who implements all the government schemes?
Sir, it's different for different schemes.
For example?
I worked on Manrega. I could mention Manrega. The DDC here, the Deputy Development Commissioner, is the monitoring authority for Manrega. He looks after how it's going, what is the progress, where are we lacking. He comes up with the plans and directions on what.
Have you ever been to Zilla Parishad office?
Yes, sir. I've been 2-3 times. Yes, I've been to a number of 2-3 meetings.
So what do you see there in the Zilla Parishad office?
Sir, it's a regular meeting like we only have at the district level.
I mean, meeting is okay, but functions, the officials, right. The departments.
There's some engineers sitting there. I could find out. There were some offices. There's a hall of this size. We have meetings. We have some engineers sitting there, but mostly I find it empty when I visited. It's mostly also because I think Jharkhand does not really have that strengthened panchayati.
Okay, you study more on the panchayati Raj. My final question: when it comes to IAS, you don't want your home state. But when it comes to IPS, you want it.
Yes.
Why? There is contradiction?
Yes, sir. For IAS, because I've worked with the administration all these years in Jharkhand, that's why I chose Jharkhand. But IPS, I've not worked with them. I find that the roles are different from the administration. Their roles are more in law and order. And then in my first preference, I gave that because I thought it's Delhi. Delhi has a lot of crime rate. And second, I thought it also has Jammu Kashmir. I was also interested to go there.
Jharkhand is not having crime.
So Jharkhand has
you say that you have opted Delhi because there is a lot of crime.
Yes, sir.
Crimes are more in Delhi.
Yes.
That's why you have opted.
Yes.
But the crimes are more in other states also. UP, Bihar, Jharkhand.
Yeah. Yes, sir, absolutely. So first option I've given Delhi because of the highest crime rate it has. It has more, as per my knowledge, it has more crime rate than UP also. Kerala and Delhi has more crime rate. So that's why I've chosen that. Also because I've chosen the first option because it has Jammu Kashmir. I was more interested to also work there in case I get the chance. And then second and third I've given Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Pranjal, you have also worked as a fellow in the Prime Minister's Rural Development Program. Can you just explain what exactly was your role and were you satisfied after it or how was it?
Yes, ma'am. So I was a PMRDA fellow. We were sent to left-wing extremism district. I was in Gumla, Jharkhand from 2014 to 17. So my role was to assist the district administration in implementation of schemes. Say, for example, I've been talking about Manrega. Manrega was one of my schemes where I was helping the district. Second was there was a scheme, Rural Mission, Shama Prasad Mukherjee Rural Mission that had come out. I had taken initiative that I will look after that. We were forming clusters, semi-urban clusters, so that it could take off the pressure from the developed urban clusters. So we could have more, say, for example, this is satellite areas compared to, say, example, we have Delhi. Gurgaon is a satellite area to take the pressure off from Delhi. So same, we were trying to do that in Gumla. Second was because it's a left-wing extremism district. There's 4-5 panchayats in Gumla which are badly affected. For that area, the chief secretary of the time in Jharkhand came up with a development action plan that we should have convergence of all the development schemes and try to. So idea was that if you bring development to these areas where the Naxals are, it would bring the people out towards the development rather than on the Naxal side. So there was a Banalat action plan. Banalat is a highly affected area in Gumla. It wasn't my like I wasn't the coordinator, I was part of a team. So we had convergence of a number of schemes. So we were part of building roads. I wasn't building roads, I was only coordinating.
So did you have any direct interact with in these affected areas with the Red Brigade?
I did not have an interaction with them, but often we'll go to the field, and I went to a lot of field because our work wasn't really defined. We could take initiatives and go everywhere, and I had just come from Delhi, so I used to go to all these areas a lot. So I never interact with them, but I knew that they were sitting there. They could see me. People would tell me, oh, these are from the party people. I mean, there were young 19, 20-year-old people sitting with their guns under a tree, but never interacted with me.
You never took that initiative?
No, I never went to interact with them because my work didn't involve interacting with them.
But to bring them into the fold was your work?
Sorry?
To bring them back into the core development schemes?
No, ma'am, it wasn't my job. It wasn't my job.
And they didn't bother you at all
No,
in your working because they thought that you were doing something which was good for the area.
I'm not sure what they thought, but I was with the community people. So they probably helped me not get in touch with them.
Okay, your father comes from Rohtak?
Yes.
Okay, then maybe you should be able to answer it, in depth. You've heard of the amendments to the Hindu Succession Act?
Yes.
What is it?
Ma'am, Hindu Succession Act is that the women now, they would not get property unless their name is written in the will. But now after the Supreme Court's intervention, the women are also equal shareholders in the property of the father.
Earlier, these properties were willed?
Sorry, ma'am?
You said if your name is not there in the will, so earlier these properties devolved because of the will?
I'm so sorry, I don't understand, sorry.
See, you said mutation will not take place, your name will not go into it unless and until your name was there in the will.
Yes.
So these properties are willed?
These properties are willed?
Yeah. Are they willed? How do they devolve on the younger generation? On the legal heirs, how do they devolve?
Right, through the will. Through
the will?
Yes.
And what are these properties? Self-acquired or ancestral?
It could be anything. So, for example, my father, for example, if my father has a property, he has a house in Rohtak, for example, that, or if he has a field in Rohtak, a farm area, if my father like to add my name to the will, then only I am party to the property. No, you have to read more into it. Okay. The properties, ancestral properties can never be willed. Okay. Unless and until it's your absolute property. All right. If it is an ancestral property, it can never be willed. So just look into it. That is it. Thank you.
Okay, Pranjal. Now you write digital diary. Tell me what is the last one you wrote and about what subject?
So I today is my day number 1356. I've been writing for almost 4 years
1656.
now. 1356. 1356. I'd actually written about how my father came up with the newspaper today, and he told me that there's another academy called Shriram IAS, and the former UPSC chairperson is giving a lecture there tomorrow, and I should go. So I just wrote how cute it is that my father reads all these news and he comes to me and he's telling me to go attend this lecture, go take that mock. I wrote that.
So you write it every day religiously?
I write every day, sir. I make a number of entries whenever I get free. I also wrote in the metro while coming that I took the metro. It took me only 20 minutes to reach here. I wrote all of that.
So you will write about this interview experience in your today's diary?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you have worked in Manrega, so can you name 5 or 6 government schemes which are designed to help the poorest of the poor in the country?
Under Manrega, sir?
No, under any other scheme, any schemes.
So number one, I feel the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is one of those, because we have sanitation issues in a lot of areas. We have people go openly out.
Yeah.
So that's one of the schemes. Second, I like the education program. I like the fact that in the previous governments, I think also in this government, you have school every kilometer. So children do not have to go very far. They have schools in their areas. Okay. I like that aspect. Second aspect I like was that you have Anganwadis in the villages, Anganwadi workers in the villages itself, at least 2 women in the villages. So they help the pregnant and lactating mothers, especially the malnutrition. We have a lot of that in Jharkhand. The fourth are also like Manrega, because I've worked on it. I like that you have 259 works in Manrega and you could create a lot of assets. We have worked on water conservation through that. Jharkhand has a groundwater issue now, and we try to work on livelihood also aspect. The fifth I would mention is the Forest Rights Act. Because the tribals do not have pattas yet and they've been thrown out of their areas whenever the forest department intervenes. These 5 schemes I could think of right now, sir.
Okay. Now, in Manrega, there are allegations, I don't know whether they are true or not, that fake names are written of the people and the salaries are withdrawn. Since you have worked on the ground, is there any substance in that sort of allegation?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Just yesterday, I was talking to, I was watching a YouTube video by Right to Food campaign and the Narega Sangharsh Morscha. There's a group of people who work in Jharkhand. They were also mentioning the same thing. In this year, because there's been more allocation, these things are happening more. I've also been to the field, and if you have 11 names in the attendance sheet is called muster roll.
Yes.
If you have 11 names in the muster roll, only 4 or 5 people we'd see working on the field. Yes.
All others are just...
Yes, they are not there. Yes, sir. But over the years, we've tried to bring it down.
Yes, okay. Yes. Now, you are a student of sociology. Can you give me 5 or 6 important characteristics of Indian society?
Okay. Could you give me an example, sir? So I know that I've got your question right.
For example, we have a marriage institution which is much stronger than any in any other country.
Yes. So first of all, I would think is the religion aspect of the Indian society. I think religious aspect, it's a diverse country. There's a lot of multi-religious, multi-ethnicity here. Second, I feel it's the patriarchal society. Women do not like, ma'am has also just brought forward the Hindu Succession Act. We have those issues here. Third, we have yes, I could think of only 2 right now. Sorry.
Right. So, which is the society which is not patriarchal in the world? Tell me.
I was reading
which
about...
is not dominated by males.
Yes, sir. I was just yesterday. I came across Estonia and Latvia. They have more...
They are small countries tucked somewhere. Very few people, but generally around the world, I can tell you with my experience, 90%, 95% societies are male dominated.
Right, sir.
Anyway, now I want to ask you about, we talk about freedom of speech, we talk about impartiality of media very often. If you look at the TV channels today, electronic media particularly, even the newspapers, print media, each one is dedicated to a political philosophy. Some of them are directly aligned to parties, some of them not directly but indirectly aligned. So, do you think we need some sort of a monitoring so that there is more impartial news coming out? The news which is coming out both through print and the electronic media is highly biased and structured according to the agenda of that institution.
Yes, sir, definitely. We should. I think we do have a body which, say recently, for example, there were cases of fake news. There were cases of paid news. I think we do have a body. I cannot recall the name which looks after this. Yes, we need that.
Fake news on social media is a different issue. Fake news even in the newspaper, that can be caught. But biased news, can you track that down?
Biased news, you can, yes, sir, with fact check you could find out. So, for example,
give me some illustration, some example where it has been found that way and then corrected with some instructions.
Right, sir. I would not. So, if, for example, a certain government, let's say any government, comes up with the fact. Recently, some government shared the news of a bridge. That we have constructed a certain bridge, and then it was fact checked that it was a bridge from China. That news was brought out in the advertisement, print newspaper as well as the media, and a certain other news channel figured it out that it's wrong. So there's a checks and balances.
Those are tracked one-to-one basis by
Right.
individuals or
Mhm.
NGOs. But is there any institutional system to do that?
So there is one. If there's, I think it's called BCCI. I could be very wrong. Also, broadcasting. Maybe they look into it. But
Okay,
no.
let's leave it.
Right.
My last question to you is now the situation in Sri Lanka is getting quite difficult.
Right.
There's shortage of many commodities, prices are rising up. There are a lot of queues, and in some places there are even riots. There was a news item yesterday saying that the Indian troops have come there and they want to set the law and order, which is absolutely wrong, but this is how the neighbors impact us.
Okay.
So what steps should India take in that crisis?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think first of all, Indian government shouldn't send troops. It's a domestic matter. Shouldn't send paramilitary or military there at all.
Of course, Indian government will not send. What measures you expect to be performed by government of India?
Yeah, I think, sir, Indian government has already extended line of credit of another 2.5 billion. They should try to help them economically. Second, I feel they should help them get fundings from IMF and World Bank, which they haven't received so far. They have applied, but they haven't received so far. In two aspects, Indian government could intervene at a global first, our economic resources, and at the second at the global level.
Okay, thank you.
Harish.
Pranjal, may I ask you to sit comfortably? You are sitting on the edge of the chair, which makes me uncomfortable.
Okay, sir.
Yes, that is fine.
Yeah. My feet doesn't reach the.
That should be all right, but I don't want you to fall forward.
Okay, sir.
Are you comfortable?
I am, sir.
Okay. Now tell me, you studied computer engineering and then you switched to social work. Explain me this transition. It's quite different.
Yes, sir. So I did computer science engineering, but within my 6 months, I realized I'm not getting a lot of interest out of it. I wasn't enjoying what I was reading, and I am also a firm believer that you should do what you like. So once I completed my engineering in 2011, I did not pursue it at all. In fact, I do not remember most of the things sir asked. But yes, so
okay, so you were inclined from the beginning, and
yes,
you realized your mistake.
Right.
I was going to ask you, what is this 5G, 4G? Should I skip it or should I still ask you?
I have some idea because I've studied in mains and prelims. Yes.
Yeah. Tell me, what is 5G and 4G?
So 5G and 4G are the communication network which are faster. So for example, we are using wireless networks. 3G.
What does G stand for?
Generation. It stands for generation.
Okay, let's leave it there. You are from Jharkhand. Is Jharkhand also a dry state?
Sir, I'm from Delhi.
Yeah,
I worked in Jharkhand.
You worked in Jharkhand,
yes, sir.
But is Jharkhand a dry state like Bihar?
No, it's not a dry state, sir.
It's not a dry state. So you think this prohibition is a good thing that some states have adopted, like Gujarat, Bihar?
So I actually, in Jharkhand, the alcoholism is increasing a lot, and especially domestic violence induced by alcoholism is also increasing a lot. If we meet in villages, if we meet 10 women, 4 or 5 have been like beaten by their husbands just last night. So it is increased to that level, and in villages, if we go, we find younger kids also not working on the field anymore.
But is
so
prohibition the solution for this?
So I do not think prohibition is the solution, because in Bihar, if we see, the illicit liquor is coming up, and then people are dying because of that hooch liquor and the matters that have come up. So complete prohibition is not the solution, but some restrictions should be taken up, because it's becoming a huge issue now.
I can give you an example. Some countries are going to other extremes, that they are also legalizing marijuana, like Canada, most of the states in USA.
Right.
So I see these two extremes: complete prohibition even for alcohol, and even this kind of drugs are legalized.
Right.
Can you elaborate on the economics of this prohibition?
Sir, economics. Sir, definitely alcohol is a huge revenue. Like you've seen also in the Delhi government, they've given discounts also. They've allowed discounts also. And even COVID, alcohol was used to gain back all the revenue that we have lost. So there's the states all have this power. It does not come under GST. So there's a huge economic factor behind it. But at the same time, we are losing a lot of youth So maybe we should
one
come
side
up
you are
with.
saying that it's not a perfect solution. It's not even a good solution. And the other side you are saying that still we should lose the revenues.
So we should lose the revenue because we are losing the people now. So we have to take a stronger stand.
What do you think of this marijuana legalization?
Sir, I think in the US, it's the medical marijuana which is legalized. There have been reports that says that it helps in arthritis, it helps in cancer treatment, not in cancer treatment, but helps alleviates the pain from the cancer radiotherapy. So for that, it's all right if it's backed by proper research.
Because Northeast also has a lot of use of this kind of illegal drugs, isn't it? What is the solution for Northeast?
For the drugs matter?
For drug and general, there are a lot of Naxalites movement.
Right. So one, I feel is connectivity. We need in Jharkhand.
So
I've
since
seen
you
that.
worked in this area, in general area, as well as you are from social work angle,
right.
What can we do for Northeast?
So first of all, we need connectivity. We still do not have roads. The last railway station that I know is in Nagaland. You do not have railway stations in Manipur. You do not have in Tripura. You have to go through the other ways. Like it's not connected by the mainland country. First, we need that. We need more roads. Second, we definitely need development. I think people are still working on their older techniques. Say, for example, shifting agriculture. The people still follow a lot in Northeast. They do not have more the other techniques of agriculture. So development. Third is, of course, development. We should come up with we should bring up more activities like that. Say, for example, yes, sir. For example, we still have a lot of child marriages in Northeast. It's probably because we do not have education system there. I mean, it's primitive. So maybe that would be the thing. Fourth, I would also agree that we have that it's in a lot. 4 states come under 6 schedule area, and the local communities have a lot of say in that. We should continue that. It's a good model. With the communities coming up and bringing up their own ideas.
Do you think repealing APSPA is a good idea?
Yes, sir, because I think with time we should repealing AFSA after complete assessment, after monitoring. Say, for example, now they have removed it from 23 districts of Assam.
Most of it. Yes.
If it isn't a disturbed area anymore for a long time, it's a complete assessment after it, definitely it should be repealed.
And my final question, you think the cap 50% on reservation is a good thing or should be relaxed?
It should be relaxed. I think the reservation that they provide, 50% is probably less. There are 27% OBCs. There are more OBCs and there are more SCs and STs than the reservation that they get.
So you think 50% cap is arbitrary and should be removed?
I think it's backed by the research and the studies done by Supreme Court and the government. I don't think it's arbitrary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Pranjal, we'll take you back to the waiting room for a while, and we'll call you again for giving feedback.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
We'll
Thank you
just
so
call
much. Okay, sir.
Come, Pranjal, please come. Have a seat, Pranjal. So when is your interview due?
So it's on 29th April.
So you have a lot of time. You still have almost 25, 26 days left with you. And tell us, how do you think you fared at this interview?
So out of 5?
This interview, which mock interview, in the last 30 minutes, how do you think you fared at that interview?
I think I would, out of 5, if I could quantify it, I'd give it like 2.2, 2.5.
So which are the areas where you think that you need to slightly brush up more, or any particular thing you would like to mention here in your own opinion?
Right, sir. I think I did not think through the sociology question. I need to brush up my sociology again. Just going outside, I could think of many points again, like the caste system and everything, but didn't come to my mind. Second, I should not, when sir said that I am from Jharkhand, I think I should not have pointed out and said that I'm not from Jharkhand, I'm from Delhi. I think that wasn't polite of me. Yes.
Okay. So let me first of all tell you, Pranjal, what are your strengths? You are good, there is no doubt about it. And having worked in the government sector would also give you some idea about the working of the government also. So we could find that you were mentally alert on most of the questions. Your mental alertness was there. you had a good communication skills, articulation was very good, you were able to convey your thoughts, convert them into words, and structuring, etc., use of words also was fine. Your critical power of assimilation was good in most of the cases. Some of the areas where there is a likely to be improvement, which we would like to suggest to you. Your exposition was clear and logical, and power of thinking was there. You could think also aloud, and current affairs also. You had a good knowledge, but there are many things which you need to know, and you have a lot of time at your disposal. So we'll talk about it in a little while. Most of the time, we did not find that you were bluffing. You were honest in your and even the provocative questions also you were able to take them, and the clarity of thought was there. So having said that, let me go slightly one by one the questions. Now let me talk about the last question first. The reservation issue. Now understand that there are certain things, issues which are controversial issues. Okay, there may be different viewpoints on that. Reservation is one such thing. Now you are never supposed to oppose the reservation. You are not doing it, but I'm just telling that reservation is a government policy, well thought of policy. Framers of the constitution decided that, and it is continuing and it is being extended, which is fine. But you should not either go this way or that way. You said that there is a case for increasing the reservation. Now, some of the members who may be sitting there, they in their personal thought may be thinking in one way. Some others may be viewing another way. So you can say it's a part of the government policy. The fact that you said that it should be increased further, it may not really gel with some of the people. Why do you want to unnecessarily put in a controversial reply? Because reservation, there are strong views in favor and against. I'm not going to debate about it at all. You should follow the official line. Whatever the reservation has been provided, and whichever it goes to the matter court, then court also give a ruling. That's about it. You don't have to say that there are so many OBCs and therefore there is a greater cost. Right. Just the official line. The second area of controversy which can come is about corruption. We did not ask you about corruption, but the corruption is an issue. Don't attack any of the politician or officers or anything, because you have a fluent delivery. But sometimes what happens that in fluent delivery, one sometimes says some things which may not be acceptable to be. So corruption, don't blame anyone. You say it's a part of the society. Then similarly, some of the women power. You already are women, so naturally you are going to support that. So women power is always to be supported, whether it's a male candidate or a female candidate. Then the three things they will look forward to, particularly if you get an opportunity to work as district magistrate or SP, is that you have to be rational, you have to be secular, and you have to be ethical. Coming to specific questions, one question I have already said about reservation. The second question which I would like to mention here is that lakhs of people are aspiring to be civil servants. So the reason for that. Now you have lot of opportunity, space to tell so many things. Why civil service? Why people are opting for that? What is it that is unique in a civil service? All services are good, there is no doubt about it, and private sector is also good, but here is a distinct advantage in a civil service. It can be, and you must prepare that well. What are the reasons why people are aspiring? Number one, it provides many opportunities in different departments, exposure. Your outlook is widened because you get to occupy many different departments. Leadership position at a very young age, that is another option, another reason. Third is that it provides lot of scope for creativity, innovation, new things you can do. And similarly, public policy, you are involved in the public policy, right from the problem identification to there are 6 steps. Go and read that public policy making process. So these are the reasons which will actually convince that why there is so much of exodus in favor of civil service. So rather than saying, you said that the YouTube videos we see many IAS, IPS officer, these are very, very pedestrian reasons. You are a government servant in any case, or at least a part of the government. Such kind of reasons will not cut ice at all. They will say that means only YouTube videos, therefore you are interested in civil service. No, it will not help. You have to come out with very solid reasons, which I have indicated to you. Then the question of choice of cadre. So you said that since the crime is high in Delhi, therefore, first of all, they may question you that from where you have got this data. And then unnecessarily a supplementary question will be asked. You may not be able to answer that. So you must give some other reason. In any case, if the crime is too high, that can hardly be a reason for choosing a particular cadre. You see. So you have to think on some other answer to that question. Why you opted for one cadre in one service and another cadre in another service. Okay. So that again is a question which you will have to think. Then of course, Hindu Succession Act and amendments. So that you have to go, because you said that the transformation of or the property transfer takes place through a will in the case of women. So that is not at all the case. Many times wills are not written. So it's still the property gets transferred. So that has been through a law. Will or no will, it does not matter. So you must study this amendment, which devolves, gives a power to the government to devolve a part of the property to the daughter also. So that you can study. So then of course diary. You said that I write diary and this. Well, the answer was okay, except that you can supplementaries may be asked that who are the other famous diary writers, so that question may come, so you must prepare on that also. And the example which you gave was that your father came to you and he said that there is now it's sentimentally it is good that you are bringing your father into the, but otherwise you have to think of other reasons why you write a diary. For example, diary writing is good if you want to ultimately write your memoirs. Or supposing you want to remember at a later date of things, what exactly I did at that point of time. And thirdly, it gives you satisfaction. So these are the reasons which you must explain why diary writing is a hobby. About flight tracking, I am not really convinced that it is a hobby. But you have mentioned it, so naturally now you can't do anything about it. So flight tracking, you will have to, just by noting the location and handling it, it can hardly be called a hobby. But anyway. You think about some other reasons for that. The schemes, when you are asked to help the poorest of the people. Now, the 5 things which you mentioned, the 5, so they are not all, they are not schemes. For example, Forest Right Act is not a scheme. Okay. Then Manrega, yes. Anganwadi is again, is really not a scheme. It's an institution, administrative structure which has been created. Apna Beti Apna Dhan can be a scheme. Ujjwala Yojana can be a scheme, but not this. And education also is not a scheme. It is a sector. It is a department. So you have to think about some of the schemes which affect the lives of the people, of the poor people. Okay, there are umpteen plethora of schemes which have been launched. You can go into that. Then fake news and electronic news. That again was a question. So that also you have to give certain reasons why this is happening, why partisan. One reason could be that the proprietor's role and the editor's role have literally merged together. And therefore, sometimes what happens is that the independence of the print media or the electronic media, which used to be there in the past, that has gone, because now the proprietor assumes the role of the editor also. So that is the reason why there is so much of pressure in having and biased news and so on. But whenever you give this answer, do it diplomatically. Don't start criticizing that the entire media is biased. There are sections of people which are totally unbiased. So, and there are others also. And you can say that this is one of the reasons why this is emerging. Are you following what I'm trying to say? Yes. Okay. Then institutional system of monitoring that you did not know. So that you can go and find out that such kind of news, whenever there is a fake news or there is a wrong news or affecting the reputation of a person and so on. So what is the monitoring mechanism? Then Sri Lanka situation, you said the line of the credit, which is already there. And so you will have to study a bit that what are the innovative things that India can do in respect of the crisis which has been created in Sri Lanka. Okay. And Jat agitation, you came out with that answer, which was fine. And then, of course, language in mobile phones, you did not know. So, coming back to that, your subject computer engineering, even if you have forgotten it, you will be required to study, because there will be maybe some officer who may be well conversed with computer engineering. He may ask you question. So that is why I asked you 2 questions. Virus you were able to, that was a very simple question, but you were able to answer, but language you were not. So in some cases it is Java language, in some cases it is another language. So that you must know. And then I asked you, yeah, Zilla Parishad. So the devolution of powers, it is such an important area that you must know, because Manrega, you are looking after the providing employment, gainful employment to the rural people, and the implementation of all these rural development schemes is done through an institutional mechanism, and there is a 3-tier. So Zilla Parishad at the district level, and then block level Panchayat Samiti, and the Panchayat at the lowest level. So you must understand how that functions. What are the nature of duties, development works. It is a mirror image of what happens at the state level or at the central level. It is a mini government. Rajiv Gandhi, the Prime Minister, he carried out this amendment. It was on his initiative. So you must know payment of street and culverts and all those schemes, the jobs of this particular. The answer which you gave about Zilla Parishad, that there was a room and there was this. These are not really the things. These are frivolous things. You must speak out what is actually the serious thing about the functions of Zilla Parishad, and how it's an elected body, and then the deputy commissioner assists him, or the CEO assists him, and at the block level it is the block development panchayat officer. At the ground level it is the Gram Sachiv or the Gram Sevak. So this mechanism you must understand. Role of the collector, you must understand the duties of the collector, and then schemes of the programs which are for different sectors of the society, for women folk, for children, for senior citizen, that also. So while understanding the collector's role, you must know, because lot will be expected from you, since you have served in Jharkhand and other places in the government. So the role of collector in revenue administration, the revenue hierarchy. You must have heard the name of Tehsildar and Patwari and all those.
Yes, but I've not worked with them.
Study that. What is the hierarchy? What is the function of that district officer who is called the collector? So as collector, why it derives its name? Collection of land revenue was the original reason. Nowadays it is much more than that. So land records, updating them, and so on. The second is the election procedure, the duties and responsibility of collector in the election. Third is the magisterial function. Fourth is the coordination function. So for example, deputy commissioner coordinates the development activities even of Manrega and so on. And then disaster management, so the COVID-19. So that's about it. And if you have any questions, you can ask us.
Yes, sir. I actually misunderstood sir's question.
One more thing before I say, what is that dress you are going to wear?
Sir, I wear a sari. I just bought it, so I didn't have time to prepare it.
Yes, that's good enough. Yes. Sari will be fine. Yeah, you were asking for
yes, sir. I was actually misunderstood sir's question. I thought he was lamenting that people are coming forward to prepare to give this exam.
Lamenting?
Yeah, I thought it wasn't a question why civil services. I thought why people are giving this, why youth is coming forward to
it is exactly the same thing.
Right.
See, why people are hankering after 10 lakhs people appearing every year for the preliminary examination. Right. So there must be something very solid and attractive in the civil service which attracts them. So he was trying to ask you, what is it that attracts the young people to the civil service? Primarily, it means that why civil service is unique, what it offers which other services do not offer.
Right. Oh, I misunderstood that question. Yeah. Okay, sir. All right.
Anything else?
A couple of things. I actually mentioned once that I've never given a government exam before. I think it doesn't come across as right. But maybe I should not mention this.
Let me tell you, you never give an exam. You always take an exam.
Okay. Right, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've not taken an exam before, and I think should I mention it? I don't want to come across as I would say like arrogant about this. That I want to come across as someone who is not looking at this job as just another job. Like I know a lot of people give a lot of exams and prepare for a lot of exams. I want to come across as someone who's serious and who's worked and who wants to take this further because of all the reasons, 5 things that you've mentioned. But I don't want to come across as something arrogant. Should I mention this?
About this job which you are doing right now?
Should I mention that I've never taken a government exam before? Does it come across
But
as good?
the DAF already, whatever information is available, everything is here in DAF.
Whatever exams you have taken are written.
Unless they ask you some specific question, you don't have to volunteer and tell them. Nothing. You are not
They read it
supposed
very carefully before the interview.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sir. So second question is, so I've actually, when I was in Gumla, I used to go to a lot of places just to explore and just to see how are the schemes working there and what are the realities. Should I also mention that, because I again do not want to come across as someone who wants to show off. I don't think I've done good work, but I don't want to show off that I've used to go to all these Naxal areas and all of that.
Only if the question, the answer can, has got relevance to these things. Yes, you can include that, no doubt about it. But always remember the adage that less is more. Because the more you speak, then they will divert towards the Naxalism and all those things which you may or may not be able to answer. So only give that much of information which is required to be given. Yes, you can make a passing remark that I have worked in those areas and there was a Naxalism or insurgency which was there. But supposing they ask you a question, what was the work that you do? There you can say, this is the good work which I have done.
Okay, sir. So the way I brought it in the interview today, was it contextual? Was it fine? Like the context that I gave with this, was it all right?
Yeah, it was okay.
Fine.
Okay, sir.
Don't give any information which is not factual. If you are not going to Naxal area, don't say that I have been, because there will be people who will catch you on that.
Right.
But don't bring the same scheme time and again. If you have adjusted Manrega, then don't repeat it again.
Okay.
So there is no need actually to drop it actually here and there.
Okay, sir. All right. So were my answers long? Was I giving long answers?
No.
It's fine.
Okay. Sir, I've given for one mock before. There was a question on views on conversion. Because Jharkhand has an anti-conversion bill now, views on conversion for economic benefits. I don't know how to answer that question. If you could just help me figure it out, because it's a important matter in Jharkhand now.
What is that conversion? I'm not very sure.
So,
what exactly?
So it's an anti.
In religion.
Yes, it's an anti-conversion.
It's like the UP thing.
No, converting to what? Christianity.
Christianity, and anybody who'd been doing that, the priest
So it is like
and
love
everybody.
jihad bill which was done in UP. Something along that.
They're getting some benefits from the churches and all.
Yeah.
No, but they say anti-conversion.
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 Right. So the government
so it is just like UP law.
Right.
That where it is forcible. So then there must be some remedy provided that if it is a forcible conversion. So what do you want to ask in that?
So I do not know how to answer that question.
What is the question that?
Question was, what are my views on religious conversion for economic benefits?
Well, the answer is very simple. If it is a forcible conversion, naturally it is not correct. But if it is by free will, but inquiry has to be gone into that. The procedure has already been inclined. So that act itself, and there will be an authority, who is going to decide that thing. So you say, if it is forcible, yes, it is wrong. If it is by one's own accord, it is fine.
What is the economic benefit? For economic benefit, maybe something that
benefit means that the churches provide facility. They give job abroad, visa
education,
abroad,
hospitals.
Yes. Here. They have all these.
So it's different from love jihad.
No, but the conversion, main thing stresses on conversion, isn't it?
Conversion means that Hindus converting to Christianity.
So,
I've been approached by some people. When I went to Belgium the first time, people did not that I'm a diplomat, and they told me that we'll give you citizenship here, you become a Christian and this kind of thing. And one of the employees became
but
in Jharkhand the churches approach these Hindus.
Yeah, but then if one is doing on one's own volition, then how can one fall? So that is what I was saying. If it is on own volition, then it is fine.
Volition is always a question of.
No, but what other answer should she give? Will she say that I'm against that? I'm in favor?
You follow what he said. That if it is done by voluntarily, understanding the issue, it's fine. If it is done forcibly, then it is not fine.
But the law also mentions it.
Yeah.
The main component is forcibly.
Correct.
Right.
If you are forcing someone or luring someone, then it is wrong.
Right.
See,
So
I'll suggest
and
you.
it's
luring.
Take out
Forcing
the,
and luring are very
Okay.
different.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
see,
Yes, ma'am.
take out the act. The first paragraph, the preamble, the first paragraph will itself tell the object of this particular act. So take out of the Google, it will definitely mention forcible. So if it is forcible, only then this act will apply. If it is voluntary, it will not apply. So you can say if it is voluntary, there is nothing wrong in it. But if it is forcible, yes, there is a specific law for providing for that.
Right. And the government, the law says that to prove that it's not forcible, every convertee has to go to the district and write and give an affidavit and say.
That's fine.
That is the procedure.
That's the nuts and bolts, procedural thing which is there. That the government can always ask. The government can always ask for that information if you have converted into this. Till it is actually set aside by any court of law, the act stands. And so you say that it has been provided in the procedure, that this is the procedure. Yes, why not? The government has powers to ask for information regarding it. But go through that object and reasons of that act. That will tell you why this act has been promulgated. And in fact, it must be a very small act. Go through the sections also. You will find forcible word.
You take side of the law.
Exactly.
Whatever is
That's
the law.
what I wanted to know.
So should we?
But where it is luring, the straight lines merge. Wherever if it is luring, then the lines will merge. So if the pointed question is on luring, then the question has to be tactfully answered.
Okay.
When it is not forcible,
Right.
then what happens?
Because some 16 priests have been put to jail because of that.
Yeah.
And people have said that, it's out of our voluntary.
Follow the right line, the path the government has done, remain on the right side. You say that this is the act, this is the spirit of the act, and I think it is fair. So,
Okay, so another if we have just 2 minutes more.
Yeah, you asked.
Okay, so another thing, so India has been buying some oil from Russia now. I don't agree that. Personally, I don't agree. I agree that you abstain from UNSC. That's all right. We have a stand there. We cannot take a stand because Russia has been a partner for so long. But I feel at this moment that going out of the way to buy discounted oil when there has been sanctions isn't right.
the sanctions have not been imposed.
Who has imposed the sanction? It is the United Nations which is empowered to impose the sanction. Not, I cannot impose sanction against Pakistan tomorrow. Right. Can I do? No, we cannot. So it is the UN. Has they imposed any sanction on it? Then where is the question of following it?
You see that it's
there is a proper authority who is empowered globally to impose sanctions.
And you see that our foreign policy is issue based now. So on each and every issue, we will examine on merit. And there is the kind of trade that we have been having with Russia. So we are still continuing. We are buying oil. But where is the harm in that?
If they are giving us discounted, we will buy it more.
It's a good thing.
It's good for our people.
For our
we
own
are
people.
having high energy prices in the country.
And if they ask you why the India has not criticized Russia, you say that as far as Ukraine is concerned, we have been meeting many things, in terms of supplies, in terms of aid and everything. But it is issue based now. We have permanent. There is no such thing like permanent friends of foes. We are having the economic relations on case-to-case basis, and I think there is no harm in buying oil at a subsidized rate from Russia.
Okay, sir. Okay. So another question is, how many mocks do you think generally people should give? Some people are saying give as many mocks as possible.
Are you benefiting from mock?
So this is my second mock. Absolutely, yes.
Huh?
Yeah, I benefited from this mock.
So
yes.
What is your answer to how many mocks you should take?
I think questions become repetitive after say 5 or 6 mocks.
Not only that, but more mocks you take, sometime it will be contradictory. The suggestions, you may be more confused. So you have to make a judgment whether 2, 3, 5, whatever.
I think three should be maximum. That's my personal.
It should help you. It should help you. So you'll be able to take care of your confidence level. So for some it is 2, 3 are sufficient. Some keep giving, but I think after 3, 4 mocks, it is not.
Okay, sir. All right.
Not good.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question is, I've been told that I don't use a lot of sir and ma'ams. Did it come across to you? Not as
No, that
We
is
polite.
didn't
not.
notice. We didn't notice that.
No
And
such
we are
thing.
not actually. This is not very important. Also.
In fact, if you do repeat it too often, it becomes jarring. You don't have to do it. Initially, you should do it. We didn't find anything wrong in your mock interview.
Okay, sir. These were my questions.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
All the best to you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Just
you,
go
sir.
ahead
All the
and
best.
prepare, and you will definitely come out very well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.